Ceremony today. We'd like to acknowledge that we have the Livick family with us, as well as the color guard and honor guard being furnished by Fishburne Military Academy. At this time, we'd like to have the colors posted, so post the colors.
Left wheel, arch. Forward, arch. Left wheel, arch. Forward, hold.
I'd like to invite our chaplain, Gordon Metz, to offer an invocation.
Thank you, Rick. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, give us pause today to look at the beauty that you've surrounded us with, the freshness of spring, and this beautiful place we come to. Many of us consider this a place of reflection, a place that we come to sort of think about what's going on in our lives, not only as cadets, but years later. Put that freshness in our heart as we go through the year that you give us every spring and all through the year, and make us feel like every day is a special day. We'd ask to bless those that we stand here to honor. We ask that you bless those that are presented here today and the ideas that we feel so strongly about. Help us to create an atmosphere that those ideas can go forwards. And thank you for all that you've given everyone here. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen.
I'd like to remind everybody that the whole purpose of this ceremony today is to pay respect and tribute to the founder of our school, the founders of our school, to pay respect to Professor Charles S. Roller and his two sons, Colonel Tom Roller and General Charles Roller Jr. With that, in that regard, I've got a few comments that I'd like to make. We are gathered here today to honor the founder of Augusta Military Academy, Professor Charles S. Roller and his two sons. Additionally, today in accordance with the 50th anniversary of the start of the Vietnam War. We will also honor our cadet brothers who paid the ultimate price. In my opinion, we are very blessed to be able to say that we are alumni of Augusta Military Academy. I, like many of you, came to Augusta somewhat a troubled young man who had good parents who sent me to AMA to have characteristics instilled in me that were somehow missing from home. While many of us spread our wings in ways that caused us and sometimes the faculty grief, most of us were also slowly transformed into something greater than what we had been. I'm grateful that a young Civil War veteran decided, upon his return from the war, to dedicate himself to pursuing endeavors that were well beyond his own self-interests. If Professor Charles S. Roller had not dedicated himself to improving young men through education, I suspect my whole life could have been significantly different. His work and traditions were then carried on by his sons, Colonel Tom Roller and General Charles S. Roller Jr. These men worked the still pliable clay of young men into individuals of high moral character. Even though the process of change may have been subtle, when I think of whatever level of characteristics I may possess today, like honor, integrity, loyalty, duty, selflessness, I have to attribute much of that to the environment I matured in at Augusta Military Academy. Now, 50 years ago, in March of 1965, 3,500 Marines arrived in Da Nang, marking the conversion of the mission of the military of the United States from one of advisors to one of operational combat forces. In all, by the time the war ended, there would be 2,709,918 Americans who served in country in Vietnam. This number represented 9.7% of their generation. The first man to die in Vietnam was James Davis in 1958. He was with the 509th Radio Research Station. By the end of the war, 58,202 Americans lost their lives. That number now slowly rises by men who have subsequently died of wounds inflicted in Vietnam, accounting for the changing total. While the number is difficult to account for, AMA had at least 326 and probably more cadets serve in uniform during the time of Vietnam. Not all those men were in country, but all served honorably. We also had at least 12 of our peers that we know of who made the ultimate sacrifice. I would like to tell you a little bit about each of them. Major Otis Gordon, class of 46, was a U.S. Air Force pilot of a fixed-wing aircraft which crashed on land in Quang Nam province. He was killed by hostile ground fire after the crash on November 19, 1964. Gordon was from Jacksonville, Florida, and had marched in AMA's B Company his 1 year at Augusta. He was the oldest AMA man to perish during the war. Charles Kenneth Mo Moran was in the class of 1950. He was a Navy lieutenant flying fixed-wing aircraft from a carrier. He crashed at sea off the Vietnam coast on February 25, 1965. A Staunton boy, he had one postgraduate year at AMA in Headquarters Company, where he was voted best new cadet. He played Tiger football and lacrosse. Major Charles Vanderbilt Lang, class of 59, was commanding officer of Company B, 228th Aviation Battalion, 1st Cavalry Division. He was killed in a helicopter crash on 12 September 1970 and received a Distinguished Flying Cross posthumously. You know what I'm going to say, I can't pronounce it right now, I apologize. Posthumously, well, thank you. He also earned a Bronze Star with 2 clusters and an Air Medal with 11 clusters, the Army Commendation Medal, and the Vietnam Cross of Gallantry with Palm. At AMA, Lang was first lieutenant in Headquarters Company and marched in the Roller Rifles and played basketball. He was from West Orange, New Jersey, and was the last alumnus to die in the war. Lance Corporal Ernest Oakham, class of '60, United States Marine Corps, who came from a Navy family, was a non-hostile ground casualty on March 4th, 1967. He spent his 10th grade at Augusta in D Company and was on both the swim and track teams. His hometown was Falls Church, Virginia. Army Corporal Neil McIver, class of '61, was the first AMA alumnus to die in the Vietnam War. He was killed by hostile small arms fire on May 29, 1963, just 2 months after General Roller's death. So General Roller never knew that any of his boys would die in the war. Mac came from Tacoma Park, Maryland, and marched in D Company and was on the fencing, track, and lacrosse teams. First Lieutenant Thomas Edward Carnegie, class of '61, Army, was killed by hostile small arms fire in the Benoit province on April 18, 1968. Carnegie was from Wyckoff, New Jersey, and his brother David was also in the AMA class of 1961. Lieutenant Carnegie played baseball and fenced at AMA. U.S. Army First Lieutenant Lawrence W. Green, class of '61, died from hostile small arms fire on 30 January 1968, 5 days after his 25th birthday. He was killed in Phu Yen province. He was on the fencing team at AMA, and his hometown was Fort Knox, Kentucky. PFC Zane Glazier, United States Marine Corps, class of '62, was killed by an explosive device on September 23, 1968, believed to have been a booby trap in Thua Thien province. He had been in Vietnam for less than 2 months. He attended AMA for just 1 year and came from Wilmington, Delaware. Private David Herbert Ellman, class of '63, U.S. Army, died from hostile small arms fire on 30th March 1966. No other details. He attended only the 8th grade at AMA and was from Edison, New Jersey. Private Jeff Hoagland, United States Marine Corps, class of 1964, was killed on the 24th of April, 1970. Private Hoagland died just 5 months before the 7th Marines were out of Vietnam. His squad had been caught by friendly fire a year earlier, which Hoagland had been able to call off by crawling more than 100 yards to signal that our troops were being hit. Later, a machine gun caught Hoagland and another Marine out in the open. They lobbed grenades over their heads while crawling back to safety. The details of his death aren't available, but Hoagland was in the AMA Junior School for 3 years before graduating from York High School in Arlington, Virginia. He wrestled, played peep football, and was on the track team of AMA. Lance Corporal Walter Drozd, D-R-O-S-D, Drozd, the class of '66, United States Marine Corps, died as a result of hostile artillery fire in Quang Tri province after just 3 weeks in Vietnam on May 28, 1968. His hometown was Kensington, Maryland, and he attended the 11th grade at AMA for less than a full year, where he was a photographer for the Recall. Chief Warrant Officer John Hoskin, class of '66, was killed when his UH-1H helicopter crashed on March 24, 1970, while he was on an emergency extraction mission in Cambodia. An 8-man recon team had come under heavy fire, and Hoskin's helicopter was sent to rescue them. After picking up the men and beginning its ascent with Hoskins in the pilot's seat, it was struck by enemy fire. The craft continued for 300 meters before being hit again. All on board died, and the enemy activity prevented the retrieval of the bodies until May of 2001. And on a personal note, many of you know, some of you may not know, I was a helicopter pilot for Company B, 229th Aviation Battalion in the 1st Cav Division. And my time in Vietnam was from September 1970 until October of '71. And I participated in a mission that I believe was meant to go to retrieve the bodies that were on Chief Warrant Officer Hoskins' helicopter in the spring of 2001. I'm sorry, in the spring of 1971, we had quite a large formation of helicopters, perhaps 30 of them. And as we attempted to get in to retrieve those bodies, we were repelled by an incredibly heavy amount of ground fire. And so anyway, what I was going to say is because of enemy activity, and I know that this was a very hot area personally, the bodies were not retrieved until May of 2001. All killed in the crash were buried in a common grave at Arlington National Cemetery. Chief Warrant Officer Hoskin, who already had earned a Purple Heart, a Bronze Star, and 8 air medals, was awarded thank you. The Distinguished Flying Cross. At AMA, he had been on the swim team and played varsity football for 2 years. His hometown was Chagrin Falls, Ohio. I would like to have all of us just take a moment of silence in recognition of our brothers who paid the ultimate price in Vietnam. Thank you. Now I would like to ask the chaplain to read the names of alumni and friends who have been reported deceased since the last time we met.
I made a comment last night as we were talking about things. We have almost 60 names here. A lot of these people were in this area last year, the year before. And so when you hear one of your friends say, well, I'll come back later, I hope he does. We have a few new ones here today, and I'd ask all of you again, call your friends, call people up, let's get them out here. This is very worthwhile. A lot of these people would love to be here this year. I'll go through this list of almost 60 names. John Burton, Jr. of 32, Colonel Julian Quarles of 35, Douglas Wright in 37, Douglas Dillard in 38, William Welty, 38, Wesley Wright, 38, Robert Beam in 40, Commander William Clarkson Garrett in 40, Michael Suttle Jr. in 42, Edward Gaylord Lee, 43, Dr. George Boots Solon, 43, Douglas W. McLoney, 46. William Harper Huff, 46. Lieutenant Colonel Donald J. Ritz, 46. David W. Gardner, 46. Peter Rendon, 46. Max Kalinowski, 47. Louis Lappert, 47. Buddy McCausland, 39. D. Ernest Click, 48. Leslie Pfeiffer Jr., 48. Alan Pearson, 48. Captain James McDonald of 50. Frederick C. Sapie Jr. of 50. Colonel Paul Saposito, Sposito, in 51. Master Sergeant Charles Mayton, 51. Henry J. Warenzeski in 51. Brian Corky Gardner, 52. David Fletcher, 54. Alan Gosson on 56. John Edward Buchanan, 57. Lieutenant Colonel Goodloe Saunders of 57. William Fred Hedgepath of 58. Ronald Rigelman of 61. Donald Beats, 62. Charles Woodard of 63. David John Burtz of 66. Tommy Ford, 67. Randolph Side, 67. Leon Buddy Galletti of 67. Tyree Leith of 68. Howard Kaplan from 69. David Kirkpatrick also of 69. And Joe Gutierreza of 69. David Michael Austin of 70. Frederick Taylor Dove of 70. Thomas Mitchell Michael Hennessy of 70. Philip Myers of 71. Nathaniel Calloway of 72. Charles William Knapp of 72. Dean Preston Lohman of 72. Captain George R. Dunaway of 73. Larry Horowitz of 73. Richard McCaffrey of 73. Robert Mancuso of 74. Stephen William Hemphill of 75. John L. Walker Jr. of 75. And then Joyce Zinkham, who helped you so much, and also Ida Spencer. Those are the names that we have for last year. If you know of anyone, please let me know. I get these notices every month, and I write a little note to these people. It's very interesting when you have to do that, and you realize that we're all here on a special moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon. At this time, I would like to ask our Foundation Chairman and Association President Blaine Clark and Steve Trent to come forward and place the wreath at the roller obelisk. We're now going to have playing of taps. Please come to attention and salute or put your hand over your heart.
Right. Hold that. Go. Breathe that. On. arms. Fine detail. Left, right, face. Forward, arms. Set. Ready. Aim. Fire. Forward, arms. Ready. Aim. Fire. Forward, arms. Ready. Aim. Fire. Forward, arms. Order, arms. Half left, face. Reset, arms. Order, arms.
Retire the colors.
Color, up, heel, arch. Forward, arch. Right, heel, arch. Forward, arch.
I would like to give a special thanks to Fishburne Military Academy for making this ceremony special. I'd like to thank all of you for coming and enjoying this beautiful weather out here with us this morning. We will now retire back to the Holiday Inn, where we'll have lunch and our lunch program. Thank you for attending.
You talk to her about that. You might end up getting one of No, I gotta be careful.
Oh, there you are. Wonder where you
He's
on the end, isn't he?
Pretty good. Too late. Too late. We got it now.
Like we like each other. Thank you very much.
Rogerville.
Okay.